Kameron. Hey, welcome to LSAT Unplugged.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing great. Really excited to finally connect with you after your long law school journey, bar exam journey. Now that it's all behind you, how are you feeling?
I feel relieved.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I'm really glad that you can rest easy just a little bit now. And after these 3+ years, looking back on it all, what's the biggest thing that you wish you knew back when you started this journey?
That no matter my grades, no matter the no's, that I still would succeed in law school and after.
Were there any particularly difficult moments you had along the way where you look back and say, I could have done X differently, or maybe you don't wish you'd done it differently, but what would you tell your previous self then?
Oh, this is a hard one. I would say after like the first year, first semester, everyone's freaking out. And I would tell myself, just stay in your own zone. Like if someone else's studying recommendation isn't working for you, that's okay. And they might have been successful with it. And if it's not working for you, find another method. And I promise you, your method will work.
That's so true. And that's also actually true of the LSAT as well. A lot of my viewers, of course, they're studying for the LSAT. They're pre-law, 0L. They haven't even applied yet.
Mm-hmm.
What advice would you give them about their law school journey when they're just setting out?
I would say take your time and enjoy each phase. I wish I would have enjoyed the moments before law school instead of trying to rush and get to law school, because every step is so important during your legal journey.
Right, totally. Is there any particular law school prep that you did before you began your first year of law school? Do you recommend that sort of thing?
I do recommend doing some type of prep, heavily revolving around the LSAT, of course, because I think that's one of the top things admission officers look at. But I'd also say reading the Getting to Maybe. I feel like everyone recommends it, but I enjoyed the book. And I also recommend visiting every law school that you have an interest in.
Cool. What are things that applicants should be looking for when they're looking at different law schools?
I think look for location, because although you can go to a school and transfer or also take a job in another state, most likely your network you're starting to build in the place that your school is. So I think location is number one. Of course, money. I mean, scholarships are definitely important because it's an investment. And also just the comfortability of the environment at the campus, because you spend a lot of time there in the library with your professors. So I think location, money, and environment is important.
Totally. What about when they're in law school? Any particular specific law school study tips in terms of what to take away from class, the professors, and of course the exams?
I think with law school, what they don't tell you is you're taking the exam for the professor. A lot of times you're thinking strictly black letter law. I'm just focusing on the elements. And yes, those are so important, especially for the bar exam. But ultimately, the exam is for the professor, and different professors have different things they look for. Some are clickers. Some are like, okay, I just need 1, 2, 3. And others want you to elaborate and go into detail. So learning your professor, meet with them after hours. It's awkward, but do it. I highly recommend it. And you build that network. So if you need a job, they look out.
Oh, that's great advice. Yeah, the jobs afterwards, that's obviously the next big step.
Mm-hmm.
What about extracurriculars and classmates? Are there any things to be on the lookout for to avoid, or things to pursue?
Well, I think it's really a judgment call. If you're able to juggle your studies as well as extracurricular activities, I say go for it, and only do activities that you think are beneficial. I did trial team, and I knew I wanted to litigate. I loved the environment. I loved the challenge that it gave me, and I knew the time that it would require, and I made sacrifices elsewhere. And for me, it was worth it. Some people do law review or journal, and I think majority of law school activities are beneficial in some way. Just don't feel like you need to get involved with everything, and then you're overwhelmed, and then you're not even doing well in your school studies, which is number one.
Right, totally. Makes a lot of sense. Now, to go back to what you said about professors and networking a little bit, are there other networking related things that you've done or would recommend to folks while they're in law school or even before to help them set themselves up for success afterwards?
So before law school, I did do mock trial in undergrad, and I think that was beneficial, just getting used to the courtroom and like the basics. And just sometimes whenever I get a chance to stand in front of an audience, especially in the courtroom, I take it. So I think just getting comfortable with that, even if you don't plan on trying cases, it's just so important because you're going to write out motions the same way you would argue them. Also, volunteer. It may seem like minute or little, but volunteer, I did it at undergrad, and then I actually got my job that I currently have by volunteering with some attorneys during law school, and they were like, hey, come to the firm, we love you, like, let's see if this works. So you never know where something as small as like volunteering may lead you.
Well, that's awesome. So volunteering, doing good deeds actually paid off in this case. That's
Absolutely.
great. Awesome. Now, I know you just went through the bar exam, you passed the bar exam. What bar exam prep advice would you give to someone who's in law school currently, or just someone who's a gunner and thinking really far ahead?
I would say I think gunners get a bad rap. Now, I don't think you should be a gunner, but I think to a certain extent, if you have additional questions or if you like to bounce ideas off of a professor, I say do it during after hours so that your classmates can also ask different questions instead of you taking up all the time. So I think that's the thing about gunners. And what was your other question? Sorry.
My other question was just if someone's looking for bar exam prep specifically.
I'd say review your 1L materials. I know you're going to hear that a lot. A lot of people say like review your 1L classes, and they really are substantially majority of the bar exam. And by that, I mean the basics. And I know I just said, take the exam for your professor, but outside of that for the bar exam, you want to get the basics, the elements, the 1, 2, 3. And I think focusing on that and reviewing that ever so often during your law school journey, not only will it help you in your other classes because they build on it, but it will definitely help you during bar prep. I did bar prep. I think it was helpful. I know there's a lot of other bar prep courses out there, and I honestly believe that if you just follow the course, trust the process, like they always say, you really will succeed during the bar exam.
That makes a lot of sense. There is a basic foundation that pretty much everyone needs to learn in order to pass the exam. Also true of the LSAT, by the way, but that's useful information to have. And I like what you said also about 1L prep being 1L materials being relevant later. It's kind of like you're building layers, you're building your foundation, and what you did earlier is going to come back later. So you want to make sure that you have a really solid foundation from the beginning.
Absolutely.
Now, with those 1L prep materials or just during 1L, are there any particular supplemental things? Like I know there's like outlines and case briefs. Is there anything that was particularly useful for you or that you would recommend avoiding?
Ooh, okay. I would say outlines are very important. I think they help me the most on top of, like I said, I took Barbary during my bar prep course, but I also took it during school. And I think having that repetition of the same, similar people, similar style helped me through law school and during the bar exam. But you have people say, use what worked in undergrad for law school. So if flashcards work for you, try that out. It may or may not work. For me, I do like flashcards, but it also depended on the class. So, and also I like study groups. Some people are against them. I think they can be beneficial. Once you find like your net group of people, stick to the same people. You guys kind of have a feel for each other, and that can be so beneficial when bouncing ideas off of each other.
Love it. Great advice. Yeah, I do think that makes a lot of sense. Do what works for you. Do what has worked previously as well. And then, of course, every situation is going to be different too, depending on the other people in the group, for example. It might take a few tries to find what fits.
Exactly.
Awesome, Kameron. So thanks so much for joining me and sharing your advice with my audience. I really appreciate it. And you've been through the process. You know what it's like. And you've got a YouTube channel full of your law school journey and beyond. It's called The Legal Tea, right?
Yes.
You want to share a little bit about the kinds of videos that you posted on there?
Absolutely. So The Legal Tea is like a subset to my Kameron Monet YouTube channel. It was really important for me because I remember being a prospective law student, searching on the internet, trying to read every article and try to find someone that I can relate to. So that's why I was like, let me just kind of pick up the camera and just start talking about my law school journey. And I bring people behind the scenes. I vlog a little bit. I show what the classes look like. I talk to other classmates. I talk about how I paid for law school, how I got to law school. I talk about LSAT prep and everything in between. So I think it was just beneficial for me to have not only an outlet for me, but then find other people that are going through the same thing and relate to me.
Awesome. Love it. And so I'll include the link to your channel below this video so folks can go and check you out. And so you said that you already have a job lined up now based on your volunteer work. So what's next for you? What are you doing?
So I will be a plaintiff attorney, associate attorney at a local law firm here in Birmingham, Alabama. I'll be focusing on employment litigation and civil rights.
Awesome. Well, all the best to you, Kameron, and let's keep in touch.
Thank you. Absolutely.